Unveiling the Book of Isaiah, the shocking truth behind the end times revelation. The night hung thick with darkness as a chilling wind slithered through the deserted streets of Cedar Grove. Shadows danced on the walls, whispering secrets only the brave dared to uncover. Rumors of a peculiar book had begun to spread, a book rumored to hold the key to the mysterious prophecies of the end times, buried deep within the dusty pages of Isaiah. What made it so special? Some said it contained hidden knowledge, encoded messages predicting global chaos, others murmured tales of madness and despair surrounding those who sought its truth. To say it was sensational would be an understatement. It was the talk of the town. Across town, in a dimly lit basement, a group huddled around a flickering candle, faces pale and wide-eyed. They clutched dog-eared pages, racing against time to decipher phrases that felt like fire in their throats. Names of lost civilizations, symbols of wrath, Greek fire, locusts swarming, and mountains trembling. Each cryptic phrase painted scenes that would haunt their dreams, a heavy lump forming in their throats. "Did you see that?" One girl gasped, pointing at an old map, its center marked with a crimson X. The air grew thick with panic. The omen felt real, tangible, as if it could reach out and touch them. Tension built like a high-wire act long before it snapped. "We need to find it. The book, the truth," barked an anxious voice. Eyes darted around, whispering prayers as if their breaths could somehow ward off the horrors that the word suggested. A chill ran down everyone's spines. What if these prophecies were more than mere ink on paper? What if the flames of destruction were only waiting for a spark? They needed answers. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As tension electrified the air, the girl squinted through the shadows, her voice trembling. What if the book has already been found? Gasps echoed off the walls, panic tightening like a vice around their souls. Faces paled, and eyes widened with fear at the thought. What truths would this cursed discovery unveil? What if someone was already scheming to unleash the chaos within its pages? They knew it wasn't just any book. This was a ticking time bomb, waiting for the right hands to set it off. As they turned their eyes back to the mapped crimson X, a shuddering uncertainty filled the room. Was it too late? The basement felt suffocating, the weight of unspoken fears hanging thick in the air. The flickering candlelight bathed their anxious faces in an eerie glow, shadows leaping as if alive. They had to do something. "We should split up," one voice suggested hesitantly, breaking the palpable silence. "Check the old church. It's been abandoned for years, but are you nuts?" Another voice shot back, trembling with fear. "What if something is already there? What if whoever found it is using it for something horrible?" The chaos of emotions swirled like a blizzard: fear, curiosity, desperation. "I don't care," the girl shouted back, her determination rising like a flame. "We can't sit here and wait for the end times to come. We need to act now." The decision was made. They would search for the book, confront whatever darkness threatened to engulf them. The group clasped hands for a moment, a tight circle of frightened but resolute faces, before breaking apart, hearts pounding with dread and adrenaline. Outside, the wind roared, howling through the empty streets as if warning them to turn back. Each step felt like treading on a grave, the cold edges of their nerves fraying with every breath. The shadows seemed to stretch, clawing at their heels. As they approached the church, its towering spire loomed over them, a silent sentinel guarding forgotten secrets. The door creaked open with a groan, echoing through the hollowed halls like an omen. Dust motes danced in the beams of their flashlight, creating haunting shapes that tugged at their imaginations. They entered cautiously, each footfall stirring decades of silence. "Split up," the girl whispered, trying to contain the tremor in her voice. "We'll cover more ground." The basement echoed a shiver of agreement as they descended deeper into the church's bowels. Dust and cobwebs adorned every surface, each dark corner pregnant with uncertainty. Suddenly, a loud crash shattered the stillness. Their heads whipped towards the source, a darkened corner, shrouded in shadows. Freezing, they strained to listen. Silence returned, heavy and suffocating, yet fraught with an unsettling tension. "Did you hear that?" one of them whispered. Fear hung in the air like a thick fog. "Maybe it was the wind," someone offered weakly, but the doubt lingered. They pressed on. Uneasy glances exchanged between them spoke volumes of their dread. Each door they opened seemed to amplify their terror, the creak of rusted hinges, the chill of a sudden breeze, the soft whisper of memories long buried. Then, it happened. A flicker of light, a candle, perhaps. They turned towards it instinctively, hope igniting within them. But as they drew closer, their hearts dropped. The candle flickered with a sickly, yellow hue, casting shadows that danced like specters on the walls. Beneath the light sat a lone figure, hunched over an ancient text, its pages worn and yellowed, unmistakably the book of Isaiah. The figure looked up, eyes glinting with a predatory light. Time seemed to freeze, breath caught in their throats. "What have you come for?" the figure croaked, a smile spreading that held no warmth. It sent ice through their veins. Fear rooted them to the spot, a primal instinct to flee coursing through their bodies, but it was too late. The truth had been found, and all they could do was stare into the abyss of unveiled horrors. What disasters awaited them in the pages of the book that now glowed ominously in the dark? Had they just stumbled upon their own ruin? As the figure slowly rose, every shadow in the room seemed to close in, sealing their fate. The figure's silhouette twisted as it rose, an unsettling motion that seemed to defy logic. The candlelight flickered violently, as if the shadows were eager to escape. Facing them was a ghastly sight. Its skin was pale, almost translucent, veins mapping a road of darkness beneath. The grin it wore felt more like a snare than an expression of joy. "Do you seek the book?" the creature rasped, voice crackling like dry leaves. It extended a bony finger toward them, beckoning them closer, yet the pull of fear was stronger. Dread pooled at their feet, heavy and immovable. "No, we didn't come for you," the girl stammered, her voice barely a whisper. The instinct to retreat was overwhelming, but the doorway felt miles away, swallowed by darkness. "Ah, but the book belongs to me now." The figure's eyes glimmered with a hunger that gnawed at the edges of their thoughts, twisting them into knots of despair. "You wouldn't understand its power. Few ever do." Panic surged through the group, a rabid animal clawing at their insides. They shared frantic glances, their breaths quickening, the slightest chance of escape dwindling. But the girl's resolve hardened. "What do you know about it?" she demanded, uncertainty morphing into defiance. The figure chuckled, a sound that echoed with the weight of ancient sadness. "It speaks of truths not meant for fragile minds. Redemption, chaos, the birth of shadows." It pivoted slowly, revealing a glimpse of the book's cover, marked with symbols they instinctively understood were warnings. "What have you seen?" one of the boys whispered, the question escaping before he could swallow the fear gnawing at his throat. "Fates are written within. Each page is a choice, a turn of the wheel that brings light or devours it." The creature's voice dropped to a hush, a conspiratorial whisper that coiled around them. "You should leave before it leaves with you." In that moment, the room throbbed with something unnameable. The air thickened. A distant sound reverberated, an echo of desperation, as if 1,000 souls were trapped beneath the floorboards, each one crying out in silent horror. "Do you really want to know?" The figure leaned forward, a predator ready to pounce. "Would you trade your ignorance for the truth? Because once the veil lifts, there is no going back." The ground felt alive, shifting restlessly beneath them. Shadows danced to the rhythm of their rising dread, creeping closer with each breath. The boy who had spoken moved instinctively toward the darkened exit, not out of insight, but survival. He reached the stairs when a sudden gust extinguished the candle, plunging the basement into darkness. "No!" The girl screamed, her voice splintering through the void. Light flickered back to life, but the figure was now a terrible silhouette, an avatar of despair. The shadows were alive, constricting around them in an unseen grip. "Choose wisely, children. Or be lost to the pages of your own making," it hissed, laughter reverberating through the oppressive room. In the looming shadows, they felt the weight of choices they had not yet made pressing down upon them. Would their fight against this figure be worth the knowledge it held? Would they dare to look deeper into the frail light of a truth that promised a fracture of sanity? While they hesitated, torn between fleeing into the unknown and confronting a horror beyond comprehension, they could all feel that the end was near, but whose end? As the shadows began to surge forward, the choice hung in the balance, waiting to swallow them whole. The darkness thickened, a living thing wrapping itself around them, squeezing the breath from their lungs. The girl's heart pounded like a drum, drowning out the whispered warnings of the figure looming before them. Shadows crawled up her arms, cold and clammy, like the fingers of the dead reaching for the living. "Get back!" The boy shouted, taking a step forward, desperate to shield his friends from that ghastly presence. But the shadows slithered, pulling him closer to their dark master, the figure's laughter echoing like a haunting melody in the cavernous space. "Fools," it crooned, its voice dripping with glee. "You are drawn to the unknown, are you not? But know this: the truth cuts deeper than fear. To learn the book's secrets is to flirt with madness." The girl clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms. "We won't be scared away," she shouted, her voice trembling, but determination sparking an ember in her chest. "What does the book really hold?" The creature's smile widened, revealing teeth that looked like jagged tombstones. "It holds your desires. It'll show you glimpses of what you seek and what you fear most." It leaned closer, its breath a chilling wind. "Would you accept burdens heavier than your soul can bear?" Before she could answer, a distant howl echoed from somewhere beyond the darkness, sending shards of panic through the group. The boy glanced toward the exit, but the way out felt more like a dream slipping away. The walls of the basement shifted, and the door seemed to blur, merging with the inky blackness. "Listen to the shadows, children," the figure hissed, raising its hand, and darkness flickered into shapes, twisted faces of those long-lost, haunting eyes that begged for release. The very air felt heavy with grief and despair. "They speak of regrets and choices never taken. Each whisper a reminder of what you lack. Stop. Just tell us what you know." The girl yelled, her voice cracking, desperation mixing with defiance. A moment of silence stretched, nearly suffocating. The figure's expression shifted, the glint in its eyes grew sharper. "You want the truth? Then let me show you what could be." With a swift motion, it gestured, and the room erupted in a chaos of images, rippling like water disturbed by a stone. Visions flooded their minds. They saw themselves, trapped in endless loops of failure and darkness, unable to break free. Sadness and guilt poured into them, constricting like a vice. "No!" the boy shouted, clawing at his skull as the echoes of his own failures crashed upon him. But even as he screamed his denial, he saw it, the boy he had once been, full of hope and ambition, twisting into despair. The shadows pulsed with energy, feeding off their fear. The room echoed with cries, distorting memories flickering through the air like broken glass. The girl's stomach churned as she glimpsed her own reflection, warped by sadness and loss. "Enough!" she cried, drawing on every ounce of strength she had. "We can fight this." "Fight what?" the figure crooned mockingly. "The truth is a powerful adversary. It will always find you. You cannot escape yourself." They were losing ground, confusion reigning as dread banded tightly around them. But one flickering thought remained buoyant: could they change what the book promised? Change the chapters of their lives written in shadows? The darkness pressed closer, its intent tightening around their throats. It felt like drowning, all-consuming, terrifying. "Make your choice." The figure rasped, the shadows swirling in a frenzied dance, becoming more chaotic, more hungry. With no time left to think, the girl locked eyes with her friends. They shared silent nods, each clutching the ember of their resolve, clinging to the glimmer of hope. One of the boys shuddered, together. As the shadows lunged, the girl stepped forward, heart racing, ready to confront the truth or whatever lay in the pages of that cursed book. But as the figures collided, the air suddenly stilled, and an unseen force threw them back. Everything went black once again, leaving only a fragmented whisper echoing through the void. You have opened the door and the book is not done with you yet. The real choice is just beginning. What did they unleash? The void enveloped them, pressing like a weight on their chests. The silence was thick, oppressive, almost alive. Shadows flickered around them, writhing as if they were pulling themselves together, forming a twisted tapestry of terror and despair. The girl felt a prickle crawl up her spine. Time felt suspended in the void, but then shivering cold light broke through the darkness. It wasn't a warm glow, it was a sickly, greenish hue that lit the room and unveiled discarded memories plastered on the walls like a gallery of phantoms. Where are we? The boy whispered, his voice breaking the silence, tremors evident in his tone. Can't you see? The figure sneered, clarity returning to its voice as it emerged from the haze of shadows. You've crossed the threshold into the realm of the forgotten. This is where lost dreams come to rest, where your fears and regrets have materialized. The girl's heart raced as she stepped back, but there was nowhere to go. She could feel the heaviness pressing against her lungs, threatening to suck the very life from her. Tell us what we need to do. She shouted, fighting the dread flaring in her chest. Tell us how to stop this. The figure's smile twisted, a grotesque reflection of cruelty. Oh, my dear, the only way is to face what you've hidden, to see who you truly are. Are you prepared to dive deep into the abyss? To confront the narratives you've woven around yourselves? With those words, the room erupted into chaos again. Faces emerged from the walls screaming, tearing, clawing. They were the faces of people from their past, those they loved. They cried out pitifully, their voices merging into a cacophony that drowned out reason. Help us! Sobbed a voice the girl recognized all too well. It was her grandmother, lost to them long ago. Don't! It's not real! She begged, as tears streamed down her cheeks. But her heart was already twisting. The shadows wrapped tighter, squeezing out hope. A flicker of light emerged from the corner of the room, illuminating a small book perched on an ancient pedestal. The book seemed to pulse with life, its pages fluttering as if beckoning her closer. Something deep within stirred a glimmer of understanding mixed with dread. Is that the book? The boy gasped, his eyes darting between the grotesque visions and the pedestal. It holds the key, doesn't it? The figure's laughter deepened, echoing like thunder. Ah, but keys unlock doors. Will you enter? Each step toward the book felt heavier, laden with the weight of her choices. The visions grew louder, drowning out the whispers of her heart. Fear clawed at her mind. What truth lay within those pages? What sacrifices would they have to make? With a deep breath, the girl reached out her trembling hand towards the book. Together, she whispered, glancing back at her friends, emboldened by their shared resolve. Together, they echoed, stepping forward as a unit, a fragile alliance against an overwhelming tide. But as her fingers grazed the cover, the room shook violently. A tremor surged through the ground, as if reality itself protested against their intrusion. Shadows erupted into a storm, claws of darkness lashing out at them. Fools! The figure howled, its voice distorted. You think you can wield the truth? You will be consumed. The boy yanked her back just as the tempest of shadows raced toward them. Get back! We have to escape. The book trembled on the pedestal. Insight flashed in the girl's eyes. No. We can't run. But as the shadows surged, they were flung backward again. The room spun, darkness swirled, and the figures began to dissipate into shards of sorrow, leaving behind whispers of their haunted dreams. The girl fought against the weight pulling her down, fighting for clarity. The echoes of regret faded into a haunting refrain. With all her strength, she shouted one last time into the chaos, "We will decide our fate." And just like that, the shadows pulled them into a chasm of their own, making a void of lost possibilities where the real truth awaited. But what would rise from the ashes of their decision? In the depths of the unknown, a new revelation stirred. Would they face the darkness head-on, or would it consume them whole? The dark whirlpool consumed them, and for a moment, everything felt suspended, frozen in the weight of their fear. The shadows around them twisted and morphed into monstrous shapes, grasping at their limbs, pulling away the last vestiges of light. "Hold on," the boy shouted, gripping the girl's arm as they spiraled deeper into the abyss. The echo of his voice felt faint, swallowed by a chilling darkness. The girl felt a surge of desperation, her heart racing like a caged bird. Suddenly, with a blinding flash, they were dumped into a vast expanse. It was no longer the eerie familiarity of the room they had just fled. This place felt different, strange yet hauntingly nostalgic. The air was thick with an unfamiliar scent, a mix of decaying leaves and burnt dreams. They stood on a cracked, cobblestone street bathed in shimmering green light. "What is this place?" the girl gasped, eyes darting around, searching for a way out. Shapes flickered at the edge of her vision, whispers danced in the air, echoes of lost souls. This feels like home," murmured the boy, glancing at a crumbling porch that looked all too familiar. Memories cascaded around them like autumn leaves swirling in a storm, each vision ripe with sadness and longing. The silhouette of a small house loomed in the distance, its windows were dark, yet somehow alive, calling to them. "Stay close," the girl warned, her voice barely above a whisper. With trepidation, they began walking toward the house, each step echoing painfully in the silence. She felt her grandma's voice again, taunting her. "You should be listened, dear." Before she could shake off the oppressive dread, the door creaked open. A gust of stale air pushed them inside, sending shivers coursing through their bodies. They stepped cautiously into the dimly lit room, only to find it filled with scattered relics of sorrow. Old photographs hung crookedly on the walls, their faces just blurs of memory only half remembered. "What are we going to find here?" The boy hesitated, eyes wide, as shadows blinked into existence, flitting between the objects like lost thoughts. "We have to confront it," she said, each word a battle against the rising tide of fear. "It's part of that truth we need to face." A sudden crash reverberated through the room, glass shattering, heart racing. They turned to a mirror hanging on the wall, its surface rippling. Faces emerged, distant yet familiar, a reflection of fears they thought buried. "What are you?" the boy cried, stepping back, his voice trembling. In response, the mirror rippled more violently, revealing scenes of their lives, their happiest moments intertwined with their greatest regrets. Shadows stretched to grab at those visions, warping them into dark echoes. "No!" the girl screamed, clenching her fists. "We can't let it take us." The boy stepped forward, determination igniting in his eyes. "We have to remember the good but also accept the bad. That's the truth." As he spoke, the memories distorted into faces of grief, shadows reaching toward them like dreaded hands. Suddenly, from the depths of the mirror, a low rumble echoed. "You think acceptance will spare you?" A deep voice resonated, filled with malice. "You've only begun to dig, and the truth is worse than you imagine." With renewed resolve, the girl reached for the back of her mind, the fragment of a better past. "Together." She called to the boy, who nodded, determination setting his jaw. As they embraced the collision of joy and pain, the house shuddered. "Face us!" the voice roared, and the shadows shrieked, swirling into a cyclone of chaos around them. But then, an opening shimmered in the turmoil, a path leading away from the mirror, into the deeper recesses of their own memories. Would they take it, knowing what lay ahead could shatter the very truth they fought for? Or would the looming darkness devour them? "Let us go!" she cried, heart pounding, knowing that only together could they break free. But as they stumbled towards that shimmering escape, a cold wind whispered from the dark, a warning hanging ominously in the air: every choice has a consequence. What will yours be? The shimmering path beckoned them forward, but with every step, the fear tightened around their chests like a vice. The boy paused, glancing back at the mirror, which continued to ripple and pulse with dark energy. Do we really want to know what lies beyond? He asked, his voice trembling. Yes. The girl replied, forcing the weight of her fears down. We have to face this together. It's the only way. She could feel the shadows tugging at her thoughts, probing into her deepest insecurities. What if the truth was too much to bear? Yet, even in her chaos, a flicker of bravery ignited within her. They took a deep breath and stepped onto the path. Instantly, the world around them distorted. Open space morphed into dark tunnels lined with memories, episodes of their lives twisted and reframed. The sensation was like being in the eye of a storm, calm at the center yet unnerved by the raging winds beyond. Look! The boy shouted, pointing at a doorway etched with symbols that pulsed faintly with light. Intrigued, they moved closer, their hearts racing in synchrony. As they approached, the symbols glowed brighter, revealing images of themselves, moments of laughter, joy, but overshadowed by shades of grief and guilt lurking in the corners. What are these? The girl breathed, feeling drawn in by the weight of each frame. Tears stung her eyes as chilling echoes of past arguments and misunderstandings filled the air. We can't escape from what we've done. This is how we faced it, the things we tried to bury. He replied. But if we confront them now, maybe we can break free. He reached for her hand, their fingers intertwining, their connection grounding them amid the chaos. Suddenly, the doorway swung open, revealing a blinding light. They squinted against the radiance as visions of their childhood flooded in: birthdays, laughter, the warmth of summer days playing under a blue sky. A sense of hope washed over her, and her heart fluttered with longing, but just as quickly, the light dimmed, replaced by shadows that crept forward like smoke. You think nostalgia will protect you? The deep voice resonated again, louder this time. The darkness thickened, pulsing with rage, wrapping around them tightly like chains. Run! The girl shouted, tugging the boy down the corridor as the shadows lunged at them, clawing at their sanity, dragging them toward darker memories: the night her best friend left, the day he lost his father. Painful moments surged like waves, threatening to pull them under. Wait! He yelled, suddenly stopping. What if we can't outrun it? What if we need to face the worst of it first? Her heart plunged at the thought, but deep down, she knew he was right. This was their moment. They had to unravel the truth. Together. She shouted, echoing his rallying cry once more. They turned to the encroaching shadows, hands clasped tightly. Show us! They declared in unison, their voices ringing out as they leaned into the crashing waves of memories, bracing for the impact. The shadows recoiled, momentarily stunned. For a fleeting moment, the mirrors of their past glimmered with clarity. Fleeting images morphed into a sprawling landscape of painful truths, tangled emotions turned into bare authenticity. What are you? The boy demanded, his voice shaky but bold. One final pulse surged from the shadows, and they felt a wrenching pull, dragging them down into the depths, into a void of their own making. As they spiraled, a terrible silence fell around them, crushing their spirits. Would they find the courage to reclaim their past before it swallowed them whole? Or would they be lost forever in the abyss of their regrets? Hold on! She screamed as they fell deeper into darkness, where a single voice lingered hauntingly: only the brave face the truth. The plunge into darkness felt endless, each second stretching like an eternity. They spiraled into an abyss, limbs flailing, the feeling of dread swallowing their screams. Her heart thundered, it pounded against her ribcage like a wild animal trying to escape. They were no longer just in the dark, they were the dark, embodying every flickering fear that had ever haunted them. Then abruptly, as if the darkness itself had hesitated, they landed hard on a cold, smooth surface. Breathless, they turned to each other, wide-eyed and panting, the weight of the shadows still hovering at the fringes of their minds. Where were they now? Around them, rows of bookshelves stretched into infinity, towering high above books bound in dark leather, their spines cracked and dusty. The air smelled stale, the kind of antiquity that made you almost want to gag. Whispers floated through the space, tantalizing and unidentifiable, flickering between forgotten thoughts and lost truths. "Look!" the boy said, pointing to a nearby shelf where a single book, brighter than the rest, seemed to pulse with energy. It was larger, its cover adorned with ornate symbols that swirled and shifted under their gaze, beckoning them forward. "This could be it, the truth we're looking for." She approached cautiously, feeling drawn to it, the shadows around them momentarily retreating in the presence of this strange light. As she reached out to touch the cool cover, a shock coursed through her, a jolt of energy that fired up her very core. She gasped, and in that moment, the whispers grew louder, almost urgent. "Don't open it!" a voice screeched from the depths of the library. They spun around to see a figure shrouded in shadow, its face obscured, but the malice in its voice was unmistakable. "You don't know what's inside. Who are you?" the boy demanded, stepping protectively in front of the girl. "I am what remains of those who sought the truth and failed," the figure rasped, its voice a mix of anguish and despair. "If you open that book, you will unleash horrors beyond your understanding." "What horrors?" she pressed, her heart racing. "We've already faced our past." The figure's laughter was hollow, echoing through the towering shelves. "What you face is only the beginning. The memories you've confronted are nothing compared to the secrets of the book of Isaiah. Those who read it are drawn into a darkness that consumes them." "You're scared," the boy shot back, fear mingling with defiance in his tone. "You're trying to trap us." "Am I? Or are you already trapped? The shadows are drawn to your insecurities. You wish to confront your past, but that book holds the power to twist it into your worst nightmare." Her fingers trembled as they hovered near the book's cover, struggling with the decision hanging over them. Should they take the plunge, risking everything for a shot at the truth, or retreat and let the shadows reclaim their fears? "Together!" she shouted, her voice firm. "We will face whatever comes next, just like we always have." In that moment, the figure lunged forward, darkness streaming from it like smoke. "You're fools!" it screeched. "You don't know what binds the darkness." With a swift pull, she yanked open the book. Pages flickered like flames, revealing frantic scrawls and illustrations depicting cataclysmic events, chaos, destruction, and sorrow woven into a tapestry of horrors yet to come. What had they unleashed? A surge of rage and sorrow flooded the room, the shadows returning to claw at their feet, trying to drag them down again. "What if it's too much?" the boy yelled, panic cracking his voice. "Then we fight," she replied, gazing into the swirling mass of dark and light within those pages, ready to confront the unthinkable. As the air thickened with the shouts of long-buried fears, a blinding light erupted from the book, swirling around them like a tempest. In that instant, she realized the truth: the answers lay not just within the words but also in the courage they had built within each other. "Keep going!" she screamed, her determination locking them together as they braced for. What came next? Would they find a way to harness the chaos and emerge triumphant? Or would the weight of the shadows crush them beneath an avalanche of forgotten regrets? The light crackled and surged, igniting the air around them like 1,000 fireflies caught in a violent storm. She could feel it drumming against her skin, racing through her veins. The shadows shrieked and tightened, clawing at her as if the darkness had a life of its own, hungry to reclaim what it had lost. "What's happening?" the boy shouted, squinting against the blinding light. His eyes darted around, searching for an escape. "I don't know," she cried back, clutching his hand. "But we can't look away. We have to stand firm." The book's pages fanned out further, revealing twisting pathways of ink, dreadful images of destruction and despair, strung together like a horrific gallery. Each illustration screamed truths better left untouched. Cities fell to dust. Families torn apart. Desolation stretching to infinity, all around them, the whispers transformed into guttural wails, echoing their fears. Fools, fools, fools. It was the figure, a voice woven into the very shadows surrounding them, being reborn in their moment of reckoning. Shut it out. Focus on us. She urged, knowing their bond was the only tether remaining in this storm of chaos. Suddenly, the light flared with blinding intensity, revealing a vision that nearly overwhelmed her. A flash of faces, hundreds of them, people in pain, eyes pleading, faces they knew from their own pasts. Each visage crystallized, letting her see the depths of suffering etched across their features like a tattoo. Is this what's at stake? She gasped, recognizing her own face among the crowd. Are we part of this torment? It's more than that. The boy countered, fear edging into his voice. We're the ones needed to change it. In that moment of clarity, the swirling energies began to coalesce, forming a path of blinding brilliance that stretched towards an uncertain horizon. Together, the light unfurled before them, inviting, yet terrifying. They felt a tugging sensation, as if the very air around them was pulling them forward into the raw heart of truth. What if we fail? He whispered, doubt creeping in despite their resolve. What if we end up just like Stop? Her voice sliced through the chaos, raw and fierce. We cannot give in to fear. Not now. We're the ones who can rewrite it all. As their hearts synchronized, they stepped boldly into the light. Instantly, their surroundings shifted. The library melted away, the shadows curling and dissipating like smoke in the wind. Now they stood on a precipice, gazing at a swirling vortex, colors clashing and merging, encapsulating every possibility of their past and future. Then it shifted again. A cold chill wrapped around them, tugging mercilessly at their resolve. Suddenly, a dark figure materialized, a silhouette against the harsh glow of the vortex. Distinctive features outlined by the light, it wore an expression twisted into a cruel grin. I see you've stumbled into the truth. Welcome to your reckoning. It boomed, voice laced with venom, dripping with malice. But do you really believe you can change the fate that's already woven into the fabric of existence? Let us see about that. The boy shouted defiantly, pulling her closer. With every heartbeat, the swirling light pulsated in response, lighting their path further. The figure recoiled, shadows recoiling like a wolf under the sun. They weren't afraid anymore. Together. She yelled, gripping his hand tighter, and in that moment, they charged into the vortex, the swirling chaos roaring around them. The darkness howled as they stepped deeper into it, determined to confront whatever horror awaited them on the other side, but as they plunged further, something strange began to happen. The light flickered. A rent appeared within the fabric of the universe, and they felt an overwhelming shift, a disconnection that rattled their very foundation. Hold on. She shouted, but the pull was relentless. What awaited them could redefine everything they thought they knew. Would they emerge stronger or find themselves lost within the depths of despair? In the last moment before they crossed a boundary neither could comprehend, a whisper slid through the air, chilling them to the bone. Welcome home. As the darkness swallowed their screams, they prepared for anything. What awaited them in that unknown realm? The chaos swirled around them, a maelstrom of uncertainty and fear as they descended deeper into a realm that felt both alien and hauntingly familiar. Colors clashed violently, shadows danced like predators, and anguish echoed through the corridors of their minds. They gripped each other's hands, unity a fragile bridge over the depths of despair. Suddenly, a blinding light exploded from the core of the vortex, slicing through the darkness. The figures stood firm, overshadowed but unbowed. Together. The girl shouted, voice slicing through the agony of shattering realities. They surged forward. With each step, memories swirled, flashes of laughter, moments of joy, interlaced with the echo of past regrets. The shadows coiled around their ankles but could not hold them. The memories acted like armor, glimmering with truth, shielding them from despair. They could no longer run from what they had buried. Face it, the boy urged, determination flooding his voice. We've come too far to back down now. As they began to push through the storm, the haunting whispers turned into a cacophony of their fears failing, losing loved ones, the demons of their past creeping closer. The shadows tried to grasp at their hearts, but the light surged brighter, igniting a fire of hope. "Look!" the girl shouted, pointing at silhouettes forming around them. Wisps of faces from their lives' friends, family urging them forward, standing proud against the darkness. "They believe in us. We can do this." And with that conviction ignited, the darkness began to fold back like a curtain, revealing a path forward too radiant to resist. As they stepped onto the new foundation of swirling colors, they felt the heartbeat of the universe synchronizing with theirs. It pulsed a rhythm of strength, forging an unbreakable bond of hope. Their surroundings began to change, the shadows retreating to corners like frightened children facing daylight. "What is this place?" the boy gasped, eyes wide as they stepped onto solid ground beneath a vast, star-studded sky, vibrant with colors that radiated tranquility. "It's South, the place of reconciliation," she breathed, awash in awe. "Where past meets future, where we can choose." The entity like a shadow loomed ahead, but in a softer, gentler form, a guide rather than a predator. "You have arrived at the crossroads of your destiny," it intoned, voice steady yet full of wisdom. "You can rewrite the pages of your lives. Only the courageous can harness the truth you now possess." An overwhelming rush of emotions swept through them: elation, grief, but most importantly, determination. "What must we do?" she implored, gazing deep into the eyes of the figure, searching for clarity. "Embrace all you fear, all you love," the figure replied. "To reconcile means to shed your burdens, to allow the past to teach rather than imprison you. Will you accept?" The words hung in the air, weighted with significance. They exchanged a glance. The shadows may have clawed at them, but they had faced more than the darkness, they had also confronted their light. Together, they whispered, voices intertwining. "We choose to embrace it." In that moment, warmth blossomed in their chests. The skies erupted in brilliant light, illuminating pathways that unfurled before them, rich with the lush tones of possibility and hope. They stepped forward, hands entwined tightly, hearts beating in unison with the pulse of life itself, and the shadows faded into distant echoes, their power diminished by the strength of acceptance. The swirling energy around them morphed into vibrant landscapes, meadows, bustling, sunlit towns filled with laughter, serene spaces echoing with the soft whisper of hope. They were alive, unshackled from the fears that had once bound them. This was their moment, not just to heal but to redefine their existence. As they ventured into the brilliance, they carried with them not just the weight of their past but the promise of their future, a beautiful tapestry woven from both joy and pain. They approached a group of figures who welcomed them back to light, an embrace that would forever remind them that even in darkness, there is possibility. "We are home," the girl whispered, looking at the stars above. "And this is just the beginning," the boy replied with a smile. As they walked hand in hand into the dawn of a new day, they understood one truth: the power to shape their destiny lay within them. Don't miss this incredible journey through lives transformed and tales untold. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will shatter your senses. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support is the fuel that drives our creative engine. Flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about what unfolds next. We want to hear from you, the true fans, and don't wait even one more second to share this epic conclusion with at least 5 friends who need to see the light we just uncovered. Let us spread the hope of transformation far and wide.